everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Genise. I'm a homeschooling mom who is trying to make a side income from home by learning to make money online. So add that into the mix of homemaking and homeschooling, and that is my hectic life. But today I'm going to be giving you an overview of the most popular homeschooling styles and approaches. Before I jump in, I just wanted to clear the air and tell you that I am not advocating for one style or one approach over another. It's different strokes for different folks, people. All up to you and what you want your child to learn and how your child learns. And that's the beauty of homeschooling. So with all of that out of the way, let's jump right in. So the first common way to homeschool that I'm going to talk about is traditional homeschooling. Now this is what probably pops into a lot of people's minds when they hear homeschool or when they first take on homeschooling themselves. And this is when the parent or the guardian tries to recreate the brick and mortar experience at home. So they put their kid at a desk, they have a certain schedule that they're following, they're working out of textbooks, workbooks, they're bringing their experience of school, if they were brought up through the whole school system, to their house for their kids. So some of the pros that I can see for this is that it's something familiar. There's also standardized lessons and pacing. Some cons to traditional homeschooling could be that it's too rigid, and it can also be too teacher oriented. The second common way to homeschool is box curriculum, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It's curriculum that comes all packaged nicely for you. It is a complete and assembled curriculum that you can follow, and it has all the subject matters in it. It goes by grade levels. So the pros to this are pretty self-explanatory, I think. You have everything laid out for you. In The Good and the Beautiful, for example, they even tell me what to say to my child. And that, for being a first-time homeschooling parent, can be really helpful. And the cons are kind of the same as the traditional homeschool. Some parents may find it a little too rigid. Again, it's not very student directed, it's more teacher directed or parent directed. Some families might actually feel a little boxed in by it. Homeschooling style number 3 is classical. It is a 3-part process to training the mind, which they call the trivium. The early years, like in elementary school, should be mainly focused on absorbing facts. And then there's the second period, which is like in the middle grade, and they call that the dialectic stage. And that's when the student learns how to think. And finally, in the third stage, or the rhetoric stage, the student learns how to express thoughts. So the homeschooling families who are practicing this classical approach, they're going into a lot of history, a lot of art. There's a lot of Socratic discussion. So the pros to the classical homeschooling approach is that it follows a kid's natural arc of learning. I also heard that it helps kids to learn languages, and it makes them literate and critical thinkers. Some cons to the classical approach is that it is very teacher/parent intensive. There's a lot of work on the parent side that they have to do in order to gather all of this material together and really lead their kid through it. There also is a lot of memorization on the part of the child. And I've also read that it can be weak in the sciences. Common way to homeschool number 4 is unschooling. This one is very interesting to me and also scares me the most, I think. So unschooling has many different names. You have unschooling, you have self-directed, delight-directed apparently is another one. And it can look different in every family. It's basically kids following their interests and their passions, and the parents are there to help them along the way. Usually there's no curriculum, no tests. It just supports natural learning. And some of the pros are that you are free to learn, teach, whenever and wherever you want. It is the ultimate flexibility. It also gives the parents an opportunity for focused learning. So a kid starts to show interest and excels in a certain topic, in a certain subject, you're completely free from any routines, from any curriculum, from any pacing, to follow the kid's interests. So some cons for unschooling is that a child is still a child. They only know what they know. So how do we get them from just the topics that they know and that they want to learn more about to maybe broadening their horizons a little bit? Another con is that it requires a lot of commitment from the parents to stay on top of everything, to follow the child along. Common way to homeschool number 5 is unit studies, or the use of unit studies. So this basically means you take one topic and all the subjects revolve around this topic. Let's say the topic you and your child choose is weather. For science, you might discuss how rain is formed. For history, you might discuss droughts or floods in history. For geography, you might discuss volcanoes. Pros to this is that it's very relevant to what the child's interests are, and it's a very good form of hands-on learning. Some cons could be that it is very time consuming for the parent. Yet again, that takes time to plan these things out, to source different information and materials from different places. That takes time, that takes commitment. And then some topics might not readily lend themselves to certain subject matters. So far we've gone over 5 different homeschooling styles and approaches, and if you're finding this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. But moving right along, the 6th approach to homeschooling is Charlotte Mason. Charlotte Mason was a classical educator in the 1800s, and she wrote a lot of literature on home education. Those who are using the Charlotte Mason approach like to use what she called living books. So if we're talking about encyclopedias or textbooks like you find in the brick and mortar schools, that's a big no-no for Charlotte Mason. She advocated that children should be learning from living books, which are written by people who have a passion and interest and can almost be considered an expert in the subject that they are writing about. And like I said, I'm just giving an overview of all of these. There is so much more to these approaches that you can look up for yourself. So going into the pros of Charlotte Mason, it is supposed to really encourage a love for learning. The Charlotte Mason approach also treats children as active participants in their own learning process. And some of the cons for Charlotte Mason is that there is a lot of going out and about connected to it, which could be also considered a pro, but I'm mentioning it as a con because what if you have to be at home working? What if, you have a lot of kids and you're taking them out every single day on these adventures or whatever? That's tiring. That is tiring. What if you don't have money for outings? Going out means you're going to spend money, usually. But for the most part, when you step out of the house with kids, money is coming out of your bank. It's going to come out of your pocket one way or another. So for low-income families, that could be a real burden. Another style, and I believe this is number 7, is Montessori. Now, I know we've all probably heard of the Montessori toys by now, but it is an actual learning style. It was developed by Dr. Maria Montessori, and it is very child-directed. It's a lot of hands-on learning. It incorporates just daily routines, and it incorporates home life as part of the learning process. Some pros to the Montessori approach is that it teaches children independence and self-efficiency from the beginning, and it teaches practical life skills, and it's self-directed. So some of the cons, however, are that there's no standard assessment, and some kids may actually find all of that liberty a little too overwhelming. Homeschooling style number 8 is Waldorf, and the Waldorf approach favors child-centric programming, and it can go well into intermediate and middle school. The typical Waldorf education uses a lot of music, dance, basically the arts, to introduce lessons. And some of the pros for the Waldorf is that it is a slower paced way of learning, and the kids get to focus on their creative side. Some cons to this might be that you might have a child that is a little bit more competitive. They thrive on sports, they thrive on competition, and this is not the place for them. And the 9th and final common way to homeschool is eclectic. Eclectic is where you use a mix of methods that suit your family's style and your family's needs. And some pros to the eclectic approach is that obviously there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of freedom to pull from different sources, different styles, different approaches, and it is highly customizable. Some cons to eclectic style is that I can see it taking a lot of time. It probably requires the most planning and the most curriculum sourcing. That could definitely be a con, but if you're committed to it, just as if you're committed to any of these approaches, you'll make it work. So I don't think there is any one best approach or style to homeschooling. I know homeschooling is a lot to take on, and hope that this video was helpful for you in learning about the different kinds of approaches. If you are really just starting to think about it and decide, and you're wondering about things like homeschooling laws, I did do this video before, and I shared a homeschooling laws guide, which I will link down below in the description if you're interested in seeing that. It's free, you can download it, and I will help you walk through finding out what the laws in your state are if you're in the United States watching this. And those are the 9 common ways to homeschool. Let me know in the comments below, which direction are you leaning toward? Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and hit the notification bell so that you can be notified of when new videos go up on my channel. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.